Let me hide myself in thee.
Welcome to the Steady Anchor Podcast, a podcast on Christian faith and practice, highlighting doctrine and discipleship in the local church. I'm Luke, and welcome to the show. Welcome back to the Steady Anchor Podcast. Today we are continuing through our series on the Proverbs project. We are going through, this is day 5, where we just go through a chapter of the book of Proverbs every day, spending about 10 minutes walking through the passage, looking for application, and asking God to bless our day with wisdom and insight, and that we would have success, that we would honor Him in the way that we live, and the choices that we make, and the way that we think. So we're going to read through the chapter. We're going to talk about it a little bit, look at the way that the chapter is structured, and then we're going to go into some application. So going into the chapter, reading out of the ESV, "My son, be attentive to my wisdom. Incline your ear to understanding, that you may keep discretion, and your lips may guard knowledge. For the lips of a forbidden woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps follow the path of Sheol. She does not ponder the path of life. Her ways wander, and she does not know it. And now, O sons, listen to me, and do not depart from the words of my mouth. Keep your way far from her, and do not go near the door of her house, lest you give your honor to others, and your years to the merciless. Lest strangers take their full of your strength, and your labors go to the house of a foreigner. And at the end of your life you groan, when your flesh and body are consumed, and you say, how I hated discipline, and how my heart despised reproof. I did not listen to the voice of my teachers, or incline my ear to my instructors. I am in the brink of utter ruin, in the assembled congregation. Drink water from your own cistern, flowing water from your own well. Should your springs be scattered abroad, streams of water in the streets? Let them be for yourself alone, and not for strangers with you. Let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice in the wife of your youth. A lovely deer, a graceful doe. Let her breast fill you at all times with delight. Be intoxicated always in her love. Why should you be intoxicated, my son, with a forbidden woman, and embrace the bosom of an adulteress? For a man's ways are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all his paths. The iniquities of the wicked ensnare him, and he is held fast in the cords of his sin. He dies for lack of discipline, and because of his great folly he is led astray." Hear the word of the Lord. So in this chapter, we see more instruction directly and explicitly against adultery and temptation. Now, there is also, I think, some undertones where this is somewhat symbolic of, again, lady wisdom and exemplified folly, like, the adulterous woman versus the faithful woman, the wife of your youth, this contrast of wisdom and folly. But most explicitly, it's just a warning to young men. Be satisfied in the wife of your youth. Avoid the adulteress. Do not go near her. Do not go near her house. Do not enter into temptation. Verses 1 through 14 is basically to flee from the forbidden woman. We see, again, the father figure, most likely Solomon, is telling his son figure, is instructing the listener, be attentive to wisdom, hear my understanding, and keep this in your heart, keep it in your eyes, keep it in your mind. Because the lips of a forbidden woman drip honey. The temptation is sweet. It's smooth. Her speech is smooth, but in the end she is bitter and sharp. Her feet go down to death. It's like at the beginning, when you first see this tempting woman, this adulteress, she's tempting. That it seems that the sin is sweet and tasteful, but in the end it leaves nothing but bitterness and gall and death and poison. A warning that, sons, listen to me, do not depart from these words, keep your way far from her. Do not go near the door of her house. It's a warning to not even go to a place where you might be tempted. Don't put yourself in a position where you might fall into temptation. Do not go within earshot of the call of sin, of adultery. because you don't want all of your goods, your possessions, all of your honor, all of your labors, all your hard work to be given to others. You don't want to be destroyed by this, so that everything you've done will be done away with. You will lose everything that you have. You don't want to be the person who says, man, I hated discipline. I despised being corrected, and it led me to destruction. You don't want to be the fool who is destroyed because he didn't listen to his teachers. He didn't listen to the wisdom of his instructors. Rather, we're to drink from our own cisterns. The imagery that's like, we're supposed to be satisfied by what is ours. We're supposed to be drawing from what we own, from what is ours, from what is proper for us. We're not to be going and seeking it in other places, in the wrong places. Specifically, we're supposed to be satisfied by the wife of our youth. That we're supposed to be satisfied with her, that we're supposed to delight in her, that we're to be intoxicated in our love, that we're not to go and seek satisfaction where it's improper. The young man is not supposed to seek after the forbidden woman for her embrace, because God is watching, God is in control, God is seeing and directing your steps. He's watching you make this foolish decision, and punishment will not it will not be forgotten, because the Lord is a just judge, and if there is no repentance, if there is no faith, if there is no forgiveness, then all that we have left is the expectation of justice. And even if we are repentant believers, we still have to deal with the consequences of these heinous sins that we fall into. We still have to deal with the discipline of the Lord that we've talked about a couple times so far in the series. And so, as more of a thinking allegorically, it's like thinking the way of foolishness versus the way of wisdom, that we are supposed to be satisfied in the way that we know is right. Okay, we're supposed to be we're supposed to delight in the way of wisdom, the way of truth, the way of righteousness, because we know ultimately that that is where our satisfaction lies. Because truth is what leads us to God, that wisdom is grounded in the fear of God, that in relationship with God we have true and right satisfaction. But if we go and look for satisfaction in the wrong places, if we go to the wrong path, if we listen to the calling voice of the adulteress, if we listen to the allure of temptation, then we will fall into folly. We will fall into destruction. When it talks about her steps follow down the path to Sheol. Sheol is that word which refers to death. It refers to the place where people go when they die. It's following after temptation leads us to our own destruction. That last verse is a powerful one. He dies for lack of discipline. Fools die for lack of discipline. And so it's important for us to not only discipline our hearts and our minds, but also to keep aware of our own temptations, to be aware of our own foolishness, to not be led astray by it, to not put ourselves in this situation where we might be tempted, and tempted beyond what we can bear. Because we know that God has given us a way out, He's given us deliverance, and He's also given us the wisdom that we should not put ourselves in these tempting situations in the first place. And so in application, again, temptation is sweet to the tongue, but it's poisonous to the body. The adulterous woman is a snare. She's a trap. That temptation leads to destruction. That wisdom is to love discipline and reproof, to love correction. It may hurt, it may be uncomfortable, it may be disappointing and really discouraging, but correction and discipline are the way to wisdom and to life. We are to be satisfied in what is proper, satisfied with what is ours. And we are to seek discipline, because in discipline we may find life. In a sense, of course. If you enjoy this today, please share with a friend. We would love to keep going through this with you. So if you have any comments, let us know. If you have any ways to make this better, feel free to let us know. And again, we hope this blesses you. We hope you walk in wisdom today through this. We hope that you ponder these words, and I know that I'm encouraged by this. So I hope that you have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.